Back in the day, Boss released this. This is the BR532, and this is a 4-track recorder with 32 virtual tracks, so you could essentially just keep bouncing down tracks to each of the 4 that are on the sliders here. Now, I thought I'd take on the challenge to see whether or not we can actually record something with this in 2019 going into 2020. So let's get into it. Welcome back, guys. My name's Shane. I already know this video is going to be an absolute ball breaker. This is the BR532, and I'm going to attempt to record something using bass and electric guitar. Now, this unit was way ahead of its time. Believe it or not, it might look like an antiquated piece of tech from back in the day. It almost looks like it's back from the 90s, in my opinion. I actually owned a BR8, which was the 8-track version of this, and I picked this up on eBay. It came free with a guitar amp that I purchased. I was like, what's this? He goes, oh, you can have that as well if you want. And I was like, I'll take it. So one of the great things about this, it's very portable. You can plug in batteries. It also works on any regular pedal 9-volt power supply. How great is that? This is going to be really frustrating after, you know, using DAWs for so many years and Nuendo and Cubase and all the other programs that I use. So yeah, this should be fun. This is made in Japan as well, and it's got all the guitar effects built into it that we could need, but I'm tipping maybe, I'm going to see if we can maybe mic some stuff up and see how well it handles that. We'll see how we go anyway. I'll probably go for my tone, which will be through one of my amps, but we'll use all the tech. Now, one thing that I can't do with this is I don't have a drummer, and being that it's only got one mic input, it's gonna make recording drums a little bit tough. So I'm gonna go to Jim Dooley's website, download a blues or funk track or something like that, get it into here somehow. I'm gonna have to find the right connections for that, and then we're gonna layer up a song, and we're gonna see how it goes. So this is gonna be tough. I'm not going to be able to really sort of, it does have copy paste and move functionality as well, but being that, you know, you got to use the scroll wheel, I think I'm going to give that a miss and try to just record it as live as I can. So here we go. Now, maybe the most hilarious thing about this is on the side, we have a card slot which can store the full 32 megabytes, MB, not gigabytes. This is 32 meg only. So I'm tipping this will be recording in some sort of MP3 file format to be able to get that to work for more than, you know, just a few tracks before that would get maxed out. It'd be a very efficient codec. If I find any information on that, I'll leave it on screen. Taking a look at the I/O on this thing, we really only have a few inputs. The guitar bass input is if you're using the built-in effects. We actually have a proper mic input, which is also a TRS or jack style one as well. Then we have a stereo line input, and I think this will be the best for getting the drums from the computer onto this. And then we're probably going to be taking up 2 of these tracks already just doing this, but we're going to get the drums to sound as good as we can. So yeah, let's use this. After diving through a huge tub of cables, this is the exact one that we need to get the drums out of the computer and onto this actual BR532. All right, so if you can barely see the screen, that's because I can barely see the screen either. It's really awful. You have to get right over it to be able to see it. It isn't angled sort of up and forwards, which would be the way that you would expect it to be. So you can only see it straight down, but recording like that is just not practical at all. So we're going to actually record via the line input here, which is this one. So we actually get stereo tracks here, which is fantastic. I'm then going to see whether or not we can bounce the drums down, maybe to a mono track if need be. But anyway, for right now, we've got stereo in coming out of my sound card. So a while back, I recorded a session of drums and bass with a friend of mine called Drew from drewsdrumtracks.com. I'll leave his YouTube channel up in the cards. And this was an unused funk track that just sounds killer. So I'm going to use this drum track, and we're going to layer up maybe like a funk blues with it. I think it'll be the perfect track. So here we go. One of the limitations of this thing, unlike everything else that's released now, is the fact that it doesn't have speaker outputs on it. So I have to rig up the headphone out to go into my sound card so I can listen back. I don't like sitting there with headphones on. I'd rather hear it through my studio monitors. So I've got to rig up something that goes out of this into my sound card. It'll be mono, but at least it'll sound all right. So I don't really want to get a mixer and have to split it. It's not that necessary for just tracking the parts. As long as I can hear them, it'll make it more comfortable. All right, let's layer up some bass on this thing. Now, I've just spent the last 15 minutes or so just modifying the bass presets that were in here, which were all terrible. It added distortion and preamp gain to the sound, which is not what I like. This is what I like. There is a bit of reverb on there for whatever reason, but it's not so bad. We're just gonna tweak this a little bit. Oh. Wow. So I was just like laying down some really cool bass and the card is now full. 32 megabytes is full on 3 tracks. Oh man. Actually, let's see if we can bounce the drums over. That'll free up some space. Man, I can't even get 4 tracks down. So that's a stereo drum track and half of a bass track and it was full. So that's a huge letdown. I really need to sort of work out how to get all these tracks down into a little bit less space. So I'll try and do that off camera. Here we go. So I've just managed to bounce both of the drum tracks to a single track, being track number 1. This opens up more questions like, how do you actually erase each track? These menus are so fiddly, man. I'll show you maybe at the end how you actually navigate the system. But for right now, I'm gonna do this again off camera because I need to free up some space so I can actually add the bass part, and hopefully there's enough space once I clear out track 2 and 3. And now I wanna see whether or not we actually have any usable guitar tones in here. I may actually see if we can get a good sound out of one of my little amps today. Because I always say on videos, oh, you know, great for the studio. Let's find out if that's actually true. Let's do it. So I only recently just got this microphone. This is the Sennheiser E906 and it sounds really cool. And the speaker is in the center of this amp. So we're good to go with that. That should be about fine. This will sound way better just on its own than the actual built-in stuff that we were just listening to before. All right, I was just getting ready to track my first guitar part and the fuse blew on my amp, so I'm gonna have to use something else unfortunately, but yeah. Damn, I don't have any spares. The tone was really cool. There's an old saying that goes something like, anything that's easy isn't worth doing, or anything that's worth doing ain't easy. Man, this whole process has been a challenge, from running out of storage to fuses blown and amplifiers, just a cable management nightmare. You should see my floor. I'm not gonna show you right now because I'm not even wearing shoes. So we're gonna try this. I got the tone master down at the second lowest power output setting, so it won't be very loud to my ear. I've spent about 40 minutes writing some lyrics, doing some vocal takes, and also trying to work out how the hell I bounce 4 tracks down into a stereo pair to free up space to record a vocal track. Now, this doesn't actually have phantom power, so I can't use one of my condenser microphones. I'm actually going to use one of my podcasting mics for the vocals, but I need to get the sound out of this onto my computer so I can actually record the vocal take. I've gone through the instruction manuals, they're on my screen. I'm not finding any instructional guides on YouTube either, because this was out kind of when YouTube wasn't that popular. It was growing, but it didn't have a lot of the actual overviews on how to do things with this unit. And to be honest, it's taken me hours already to get this far into the project, and I just can't do it. So what I'm gonna do is go out of this into my little Behringer mixer. This is one of those 802s. And from this, we're gonna go into my sound card. I just need to grab the rest of the cables. Then I'm gonna record stereo out, hopefully out of this, into my computer, and then record the vocal track just straight into the UR22 MK2. I can't really, I mean, I could use this, but there's gonna be latency from when I hear it, then the internal processing, then out into the actual sound card. So to eliminate any of those issues, I'm just gonna record the vocals dead dry into the UR22 MK2. And I'll layer it up with a really crappy plate reverb like the one that's built into this. But it's sounding pretty good. And what you're about to hear now, I think, will be the final mix of my vocals, all the guitar parts. It's all done live, no overdubs. And then at the end, you're just gonna hear the drums basically cut off, because yeah, there's no way to do that with this. So I'm just going to basically pull the drum fader down. That's about as far as we're going to get. I'm going to mix this on the fly as well. So come up with a couple of verses. I hope you like it. If you enjoyed the video, please give it a thumbs up. This was an absolute ball breaker, and I'll give you my thoughts at the end.
What a day. I gotta change my ways. This Boss BR532 is giving me the blues. I gotta change my ways and record a better way. I can't bounce these tracks. Thanks, boss, for that. I can't bounce these tracks, and the menu's crap. I gotta change my ways and record a better way.
So there you have it. That's my final track. I hope you enjoyed it. Whew, man, what a day. I got to find a better way to record, and that was the gist of the song. So what are my thoughts about this overall? Man, antiquated technology like this should not be used under any circumstance when it comes to what we can do with computers. But I have to give this some credit. Back in the day when this was released, this was a really great unit. Like I said, I actually had the BR8, which was the 8-track version of this. I still only had the regular inputs. You couldn't record 8 tracks at once, but it was very, very functional, and I cut my first demos ever on that unit. So back in the day, this was the best way of doing it over a computer because it was just all in one. You could take it to your friend's place, record some guitar parts and all of that. I think my friend Alex and I actually recorded acoustic drums. We did bass parts going into this with bass simulation, all that kind of thing. Then we laid it up, but today I thought for the sake of the video, I'm going to track all of this live. This actually makes you play the parts right. It makes you try to sing it correctly. You can, of course, punch in and do all that kind of stuff with these units, but it's next to impossible when you're on your own if you just want to fix a small section. So yeah, man, it's funny how far things have come since the days of these units. This BR532 was free when I purchased an amp on eBay. The guy just said, here, take this as well and take a really great microphone. I was like, man, you sure? So I hit the jackpot back then when I did pick this up. Now, I didn't know what I was going to use this for. I had a feeling I'd do a video like this at some point. The idea with this was maybe to use it for live streaming. I could plug in, but now that I've got the Kemper, man, the Kemper's just kills all the internal effects on this. It's not even close. I think even the worst effects pedals today, in terms of digital effects, will sound better than what's built into this. Trying to bounce the tracks was impossible, man. That's why I came up with those lyrics. I went through the instruction manual, I tried to find videos. There's not a lot on YouTube about how to use this other than its basic functionality, so I gave up. I just couldn't get it to work. So I did cheat at the end there by recording the vocal on the computer, but it was the easiest way. All I could work out how to do was to bounce 2 tracks to 1. And I didn't want to have a mono track, especially on the guitars that was split left and right. So yeah, a little bit of a logistical nightmare, and this menu, this LED screen and the menu system is just tough. If you're not looking down at it like from this way, It's impossible to see if you're sort of standing over here looking at it. You can't see anything. It's an absolute nightmare. So thank God we don't have to use the BR532 for anything for recording these days. If you still use something like this, please let me know. I still have an all-in-one recorder. It's the Zoom R16. It's got 8 individual mic inputs. It's an SD card recorder. I can put up to 128 gig storage card in there and I can record it all day. Those are great. This is different. This is old and I'm glad it's been retired and I don't think it'll ever take the place of my DAW. Thanks again for watching. My name's Shane. I'll catch you soon. See ya.